Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Sherlock Holmes The Awakened. And I'm really glad you guys enjoyed the first episode of the series. It's really good to be back in the world of Holmes. But definitely a darker tone than what we've seen in a lot of the Sherlock games. And that's saying something because Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 had some really dark moments. But our first case, or our first side quest, is completed, and it involved the grisly fate of several child workers. Which, you know, is horrible, but was a normal thing in Victorian London during the Industrial Revolution. So, yeah, definitely set the tone. But we are here outside of Barnes' bookshop now, and Sherlock needs to find out who tried to poison him with a cactus spine. Oh, and Watson's already in here.
Do you even have enemies that would want to kill you? Okay, perhaps from Cordona.
I'm sure quite a few people in Cordona would like to see Sherlock dead. That's a good point, Watson. I hear a doggy. We'll get to you in a second. Is there Oh! Is that baby Toby?
So, Barnes has a dog now. Who's a good boy?
Oh, yes, the best boy. Oh, we can't pet, but at least Sherlock said something nice to him. Is this actually Toby as a puppy?
So, Barnes has a dog now. Who's a good boy?
Oh, I love it. Okay, Barnes, we'll forgive this whole murder plot if you give us the dog. Oh, we're observing. And looks like this is very similar to Chapter 1. Bags under eyes, the effects of overwork. It's one of those things, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it. Oh. Ink. Newspaper ink? I thought they were like bruises. As long as it's not squid ink. Leans heavily on his right leg. Sore left leg. And there you are. High heels. Wants to look taller. Workaholic or blackmail victim. Mr. Barnes has developed a limp and has large bags under his eyes, the result of long hours of intense work. He's not very confident and tries to appear taller by wearing high heels. It seems unlikely that such a person would be involved in a murder plot, even if the ink on his hands suggests he's the one who soiled the newspaper. Nevertheless, Mr. Barnes could still be a pawn in a bigger plan without his knowledge. Mr. Barnes has large bags under his eyes, the result of poor sleep and stress. He's developed a limp, likely the result of an attack. He wears high heels to look taller or stronger, presumably to deter future violence. Mr. Barnes is being threatened by someone and might be involved in a plot against me. That seems fairly paranoid. I think workaholic would probably be the most logical answer, but we are dealing with the mythos here, so logic may be thrown right out the window. Let's go with workaholic, though. We'll keep using reason until it fails us.
Mr. Barnes, a word.
Oh, for goodness sake.
I may have been wrong.
Who goes there?
Sherlock Holmes. Now will you please...
Mr. Holmes. Golly, I did not see you come in.
Would you care to answer some questions for me?
Well, I wish I could, but I am deep in the weeds with work. How about we reschedule in a month or two?
Come now, Mr. Barnes. It will only take a moment.
Really deep in the weeds with important things. Well, help yourself to any book. Just take it and pay later. I trust you, Mr. Holmes.
Barnes doesn't seem like himself. Why is he acting this way?
You're asking the right questions, Doctor. Let's find a way to coax him out.
Okay. Press L1 to... Oh, yep, gotta go into detective mode.
Basics of cryptoanalysis, cryptography in Egypt. It appears Barnes has an interesting hobby.
Ooh. Well, that looks ominous. The Jungle Book is less so. A catalog of exotic plants on Barnes' counter. The name of the catalog reads, Everlasting Plants for an Everlasting Love.
I could hardly imagine anything more macabre.
Oh, I could think of a lot of things. Is that supposed to be like a flying polyp? Killing Tempest. The Power of Love, Blood and Mandrake.
The finest view London has to offer.
Okay.
In the language of Mycroft's secret agents, it's a sign. Dried flowers are replaced when the job is done. I wonder who the recipient is.
Oh, I hope we see Mycroft in this game. I loved this version of him.
An improvised stand, but it does make the flowers more visible.
So this is a signal. A signal for what, though? Okay, we're gonna keep looking.
The ladder is broken, recently, judging by the freshness of the wood.
Barnes' broken ladder. That would explain his limp. The ladder broke while he was on it. Let's head to the Mind Palace and see if we can make sense of this. Why is Barnes acting so strangely? Book from Barnes, cryptology. Wait, hold on 1 second. I think we need some more ambient noise here. Ambient. I don't necessarily know about the music, but... Okay, let's go with that. Cactus Spine, why is Barnes acting so strangely? Cryptology book, maybe? Cactus Spine mixed with Newsboy's testimony? Ew, that did not work. Book with Barnes. Or from Barnes, the strand is missing. Barnes is involved in the scheme? Ooh, and they're all disappearing too. That's not good. The one is the London Advertiser. I don't think that would necessarily work. And then we've run out of evidence. Can we go back? So instead of just having that stuff marked, if it's not relevant, it just disappears. Kind of helps us weed out anything we don't need. Well, I'm not seeing anything else here.
Apologies, but I can't hear you. Please come back later.
Went behind the counter. Oh wow, you just left money right there for the taking. Well, let's try outside. Oh, hello there. Can we turn that? Okay, we need to see some colors.
Encouraging people to stop and smell the roses?
Our national emblem. God save the Queen.
Hello, cactus.
Familiar spine? Is this what I found in my dustbin? The pot is damaged. The blow was severe, but softened by something.
Cactus in a cracked pot.
It must take patience and care to produce a bloom so beautiful.
I imagine so. I merely sell them. Anything tickle your fancy, Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, let's go ahead and observe. Is this who Barnes is trying to signal? Distant look. Avoids eye contact or distracted. Mourning brooch. Honoring deceased husband. Luxury fabric. Unusual for work attire. Wearing makeup. For beauty or concealment. Hey there, pupper. Clean boots. Change shoes upon arrival. Ready to move on or still grieving. Mrs. Fleming wears a mourning brooch in memory of her late husband. Her dress is made from an expensive fabric that's not suitable for work. Her shoes show no trace of mud. She must have changed them when she arrived. Her eyes constantly dart around the street, seemingly in search for something. Perhaps she's waiting for someone? While Mrs. Fleming cherishes the memory of her departed husband, she's ready to move on, as suggested by her makeup and nice outfit. Perhaps she's dressing to attract someone's attention, or simply because she has learned to love herself again. Mrs. Fleming uses makeup to hide her tear-stained cheeks. Her dress is made from an expensive fabric. While she tries to bury her grief by dressing extravagantly, she still wears a mourning brooch in memory of her late husband. Her gaze, always staring off into the distance, reveals her emotional detachment. Taken as a whole, one must conclude that Mrs. Fleming is still reeling from her tragic loss. I think ready to move on would be a little bit more appropriate because she's not wearing all black. She still has the mourning brooch on. She's wearing like a striking shade of red lipstick. And when it said makeup, it was focusing primarily on the lips, while this says that she uses makeup to hide her tear-stained cheeks. I think ready to move on would be more accurate out of the two.
Mrs. Fleming, you look particularly lovely today. Is there a reason?
Does a woman need a reason to look or feel beautiful?
No, but your distant look suggests you seek one man's gaze in particular.
Who told you that?
Nobody. Merely a keen eye and some simple deduction.
Well, I'll kindly ask you to keep your keen eye to yourself, Mr. Holmes.
I was not hearing a no. Provide evidence. Cactus in a cracked pot?
One of these things is not like the other.
Come again?
The cactus. Those fearsome spines can prove a devil to remove, and the sap is often toxic.
And a rose thorn can give you tetanus, but we still grow them. The cactus seems comparatively harmless, though you have me thinking it must be valuable.
I was under the impression that you knew its price already.
Your guess is as good as mine. The first time I saw this cactus was when I came back from my break.
Really?
I'm afraid I can't help with that, Mr. Holmes.
Oh, we can just run through everything. Okay.
I'm afraid I can't help with that, Mr. Holmes. I'm afraid I can't help with that, Mr. Holmes.
What do you make of the flowers in Barnes' shop window?
Well, they could use a bit of water.
Do they mean anything to you?
Mean anything how? I'm not sure I'd follow, Mr. Holmes.
Why do you think they're there?
Are you suggesting the flowers are for me?
It seems likely, does it not?
Oh, I hope you're right. I'm afraid I can't help with that, Mr. Holmes.
Everlasting plants for an everlasting love. We saw the thing about the other book about love.
I'm afraid I can't help with that, Mr. Holmes.
Are you familiar with Mr. Barnes?
Yes. No, not really. Well, in a way.
What on earth does that mean?
I know who he is, of course, but we haven't shared much more than a look.
A look?
Yes. Each morning I go for a walk in the park with my dog, and most days I spot Mr. Barnes there with his new puppy, so we see each other. Actually, we once met briefly while our dogs played. He was quiet and seemed unsteady as he approached, but since then, we've never spoken. I often see him staring through the shop window. Sometimes I wonder what he thinks about that would etch such longing onto his face.
5 evidence updated. Well, I have a bit of a theory, ma'am. To the Mind Palace. Okay, items. Let's go... Dead flowers on display. Ah, okay. Process of elimination. Roses for sale. Cactus in a cracked pot. Oh. Mr. Barnes loves Mrs. Fleming. Barnes displays a bouquet of dead flowers to attract the attention of Mrs. Fleming, a florist. He may hope she'll come into his shop and give him watering advice, or it could simply be a symbol of his desperation. Barnes anonymously gifted her a cactus, which he ordered from the catalog on his counter. A questionable choice, but for Barnes a symbol of his eternal love, since the catalog presents these cacti as immortal. Plainly, this is the same cactus he dropped on the Strand outside 221B Baker Street. Now to hear the full story. And there we go. Cool. Let's clear out all the evidence here.
I think perhaps I have been chasing shadows.
Do not despair, Mr. Holmes. Even the best of us make mistakes. We better tell Mr. Barnes what we've learned.
Yes, indeed.
Mr. Barnes, I know what you did, and I know why you did it.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes. I can't hear you very well from behind the door.
You ordered a cactus from the plant catalogue and then left it for Mrs. Fleming as a gift. You place flowers in the window to get her attention and wear high heels to appear taller and more desirable. You are her secret admirer. I couldn't read this morning's edition of The Strand because it was covered in soil and spines. I know you dropped a cactus on it and then fled.
Barnes, it's Dr. Watson. Rest assured we are not interested in disclosing your personal affairs to anyone, including Mrs. Fleming. Please come out.
All right, then.
Good job, Watson.
So, you know what happened then? I was on my way back from the post office, having picked up the cactus and some books. It was quite an awkward package. Heavy, too. And when I got to your door, I dropped the cactus and your paper. Forgive me.
I needed that paper to prove a theory and prevent a crime. Your actions were rather disruptive. Your clumsiness carrying the post is matched only by the clumsiness of your romantic gesture.
Oh, it's true. I am useless with this sort of thing. I'm not even sure if Mrs. Fleming noticed.
Buzz. I know what to do.
As in most things in life, truth is the answer. Cease with the abstruse signals and anonymous gifts, and simply talk to the woman. What is the worst that can happen? She rejects you, and you are freed from this endless purgatory.
That... Yes, you are correct, of course. I do have a slight tendency to overthink things. Thank you.
So, at last, we return to the matter of the paper. I'm investigating a string of burglaries. Did you perhaps read of any before the edition was spoiled?
I don't recall, but you're welcome to read our copy for yourself.
You had an issue of The Strand here all along?
Well, naturally. I am a bookseller. I have a subscription to every magazine and newspaper in London.
So you ought to be familiar with the concept of burying the lead.
Oh no, my apologies, Mr. Holmes. I'll make it up to you however I can. I am an expert on obscure languages and translation and
Yes, okay. Just give me the paper.
I did like the fact that he told Sherlock Holmes of all people, "Oh, I tend to overthink things." Holmes like, "Really?" The Strand, September 28th, 1882. Saltpeter explosion rocks docks. Locals at the Port of London had a rude awakening last night with loud bangs and thick red smoke disturbing the peace. Merchant ship Moskva had docked at Pier Inn 3 in the early evening en route to Europe when it was rocked by several concussive explosions. The Port Authority is yet to comment on the incident, and it is unknown if any crew members were on board at the time. Eyewitnesses report seeing saltpeter leaking into the river, but with the area still off limits to workers and the public, it may be some time before we have a full account of what transpired.
Come, Dr. Watson. Let us put this matter behind us.
Farewell, Mr. Barnes. I hope to hear good news about you and Mrs. Fleming.
Yeah, see, there's the Strand right there.
So, Barnes has a dog now. Who's a good boy?
Can we talk to him?
Let me know if there's any way I can make it up to you. Tell you what, tomorrow's edition of The Strand is on me.
I remember, newspapers were a huge service to Holmes. Even in the games, I remember Sherlock Holmes consulting detective.
That was an utter waste of time.
An assassination did seem rather unlikely.
There was supposed to be another burglary. I was certain of it. Something you wish to say, Doctor?
No? Well, only that you have a remarkable faculty for deduction and pattern recognition, and that perhaps, if ill-applied...
I see things that are not there.
Yes. It is London. There will always be burglaries. Doesn't have to mean anything.
So it seems. Forgive me. Without something to occupy my mind, I turn into an entirely different animal.
Which brings us back to my news from earlier. I think I have a case for you, a real one.
Truly?
Indeed. Though perhaps not as thrilling as your stories from Cordona. A patient of mine, Captain Stenwick, told me that his servant disappeared. I said I knew just the man to help. What do you say?
Oh, Watson.
Yes, I know it's not the most tantalizing mystery, nor the story to launch my writing career. But...
it's brilliant. Let's go.
Oh, good. Well, his house is nearby. Come.
Ah, that would explain Stenwick Mansion that we saw. But it's true, though. Holmes could have the potential to completely, let paranoia overtake his powers.
Not much further now.
Oh, look at that. The gate's open now. But in Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the newspapers were a huge service to you. Okay, we don't want to talk to those people just yet. You'll scan the grounds.
Is this lousy attitude of yours because of my altercation with Inspector Lockhart? Did he put you up to this?
Sir, the inspector has nothing to do with it. I'm telling you the same thing I tell anyone seeking a missing person.
Good day, gentlemen. Forgive the intrusion. Captain Stenwick, this is my colleague Sherlock Holmes, the consulting detective I told you about.
At last, a professional. This useless officer refuses to do anything about Kimmy here, my missing servant. What was your name again? I shall be certain to inform your superiors.
Sergeant Ruffles. And it's my superiors who made this decision, sir.
Sergeant Ruffles.
Have there been other disappearances lately?
Of course, here and there. But when life is tough and opportunity comes knocking, you can't blame those who answer.
Wow.
Why has the police department decided not to help?
We investigate murders, thefts, fraud, arson, real crimes. A servant walking away from his master is not our highest priority. That said, if we find Kimahia breaking the law, we'll be sure to notify Captain Stenwick. Now, I must be off. Best of luck in your search.
You heard that, didn't you? The way that man spoke to me. I shall need your written testimony. Then we can lodge a complaint.
Captain, perhaps Mr. Holmes' time is better spent learning about your servant, so that he may begin his investigation.
Ah, yes. Quite right. Fire away.
See Watson walking around in the background?
Tell me about Kimahia.
He's foreign. A Maori. All the way from New Zealand. Biggest man you've ever seen. And as strong as two. Dark hair and fearsome tattoos. He doesn't speak a whit of English. Never bothered to learn. But I made do with pointing. I invested a lot of money in him, so he must be found.
When did you last see your servant?
Kimmy here normally brings me the morning papers, but yesterday I had to get them myself. He must have escaped the night before yesterday.
May I see your servant's bedroom?
His shack is in the garden. You can't miss it.
Did you search the room?
Of course, but only to check he wasn't lying dead inside. Everything seemed normal at a glance.
What a nice boss.
I take it this is the first time Kimahia has vanished?
Undoubtedly. The man seemed terrified of the city. I think it was all the noise. He never left this estate. Should he cause any damage, I will bear the responsibility, for it was I who rescued him from savagery and brought him here to England in the first place.
Is there any reason Kimahia may have left?
I should think not. He had all he could have wanted. Gainful employment, new clothes, and all the cabbage he could eat.
My cabbages!
Did Kimahia make off with anything of value?
Heavens, no. I would have mentioned it to Sergeant Ruffles.
Still, he must have fled with some money on his person.
No. I kept his wages in my safe. For security.
All right, Captain. I think I have enough to get started. We shall first take a look around the mansion.
Go ahead. I'll be here, mentally drafting my complaint.
To Sergeant Ruffles. But first you have to get through Sergeant Ridges and Sergeant Lays. Okay, Watson, did you get your steps in? You know how I worry. So a Maori Kimahia has run away from his loving employer. I don't blame him. Someone left a hat out here in the rain. Thank you, Watson. Got a headless statue. There's his shack. Ooh, we've got symbols. Okay, interesting. But I'll tell you what, guys. This is actually a good place to go ahead and call it an episode. It's the rain's still coming down, but at least we had a nice outcome to a case. Maybe the bookkeeper and the flower seller will actually get to talk, and a nice relationship will form. We'll see. But when we get back, we'll go ahead and explore this area and see what happened to Kimahia. Hope you all have enjoyed it. If you liked the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. And we'll see you next time. Later days, everyone.